Welcome inside episode 549 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan on the outskirts of enemy territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains for a eulogy on the 2021-22 Ottawa Senators. How will they be remembered? What are the most positive and negative things you're taking out of this season? And who will and won't be back as the Senators players cleaned out their lockers this weekend, and we heard from both DJ Smith and Pierre Dorion.
And check out our YouTube exclusive of our reaction to Pierre Dorion's presser. And although the Sens season is over, NHL playoffs are here, and we're fired up. We're going to preview some of the series that are happening tonight.
If you're watching on YouTube, you know who our cheering interest is taken for the first round. We'll get into all that. Plus, Sens prospects continue their quest for CHL glory, and Brady Tkachuk's vibes remain unparalleled. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. More props, odds, and lines than ever before. It's BetOnline, where the game starts. And now the show starts. This is the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.
Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Senators your first listen on this Monday, May 2nd in Pilsey. How do you think Brady Tkachuk's feeling this morning?
Hey, he's glad it's the off season because he's going to need some recovery, not just for his hands, his back, and his knee like we talked about yesterday, but he might have a bit of a hangover here, but he's still in his early 20s, so maybe not. And I'm sure he mixed in a couple waters there, but that video of him bartending was an all-time classic. I can tell you that's not the way I usually handle myself behind the bar.
He tried to rip a lemon in half with his bare hands in this video. It is one of the all-time greatest videos and of a string of videos with Brady Tkachuk. And it just shows you this guy gets out on the town. He likes to have a good time, play hard, work hard. And there isn't a player on the Ottawa Senators that works harder than Brady Tkachuk. If this was Mike Hoffman, I could see the boomers going, come on, put that effort in on the ice. But when you're a battler like Brady Tkachuk, I don't want to hear anyone talk down about what this kid's doing. He's electricity. He's fun. He's not doing anything wrong. He's just having a great time, and shirt's optional, I guess, at the bar that they had there.
Shirt's optional, but helmet mandatory. Safety mandatory. First, kids.
Go, if you haven't seen it yet, go on Twitter at Sens Central. We've posted it there. I think it's going up to over 40,000 views, and why not? Because this kid is the real deal. Like, we say that jokingly with like Jake Sanderson. Everyone calls him the real deal, but like Brady Tkachuk is the real deal. He's the captain of the franchise, 30-goal scorer. How are you? And that's a difficult season, and we're talking about this whole eulogy and how to really summarize what we saw, because this regular season started October 14th. Pilsey, it's May 2nd, and we're coming on the first Monday after the season. Like, this has been a grind for us covering it. I can't imagine what it's been like to be through the battles, through the pauses, the long time without games, the 17 back-to-backs. This has just been a wild season like none other.
It really is like none other because, sure, now they're back to a regular 82-game schedule, but not in the free-flowing set ways that they've been used to literally every other year before COVID hit. So this was a wild one, and the Senators, they were given no favors. The NHL does not hand out favors to the Ottawa Senators, that's for damn sure, and they made the most out of it. Was it a great success? Absolutely not. But there are some things that we can point to that kind of give you some hope that the light at the end of the tunnel isn't just a speck of dust in the distance, but it's getting closer and closer.
Yeah, well, DJ Smith referenced himself that when their top 5 guys were healthy, and again, this is a bit of a cherry pick stat, but when 2 of your top 3 of your PP1 guys miss over 20 games each, with Shabbat, Batherson, and Norris all around that 20, I might be off by 1 game, but it's pretty hard to get a sense of what it can be. Yeah. So DJ was saying, and I just trust that he has the numbers, but when Josh Norris has, 14 power play goals on the season, and these other guys are all contributing with the man advantage, when they have that top unit all there, he said they were top 10 in the league, maybe even top 7, and they're only going to get better next year. So to have that top-end talent is something that you needed to see at this stage of the rebuild, and it's blossoming, man. Like Tim Stützle really came into his own. We're seeing it more and more at even strength as he gets into his comfort zone as a centerman. Now let's see if he can do it when the chips are a little bit higher than they were down the stretch this season. But I think if I'm looking at the number one like lock going into next season, if I'm management, your first power play unit is locked and loaded, and they're going to be a top echelon power play in the National Hockey League.
Yeah, I think if we're looking at this season compared to last, some bright spots that we can really shine on and be happy about is the special teams, the power play fine. Like, Ross, what was the power play story from the season before? It was, we're all sick of the Thomas Chabot drop pass and they can't get anything done. That's not the story this year. And then if we're going to highlight another thing, it's goaltending. And by goaltending, I mean Anton Forsberg.
Woo.
Like, Philip Gustafsson and Matt Murray, they weren't really a part of this equation getting any better, but Anton Forsberg certainly has been. And not only was he consistent, reliable, gave his team a chance to win every night, but he's now locked up for 3 more years. So you feel pretty good about that. And then I would also say the penalty killing has improved a lot as well. And they're getting some help from unusual suspects. Tim Stützle now helping on the PK. Josh Norris helping on the PK. Formanton tied with the lead in shorthanded goals. Like, this is now becoming a team where when you get your special teams going and you get solid goaltending to back you up, now they just need a good bit of health, and I think they can make massive, massive improvements.
But it will not close a 40-point gap that separated them from a playoff spot. Pierre Dorion referenced that, though, in his media availability. And again, we're not going to spend too much time on it. We want to get to our first round playoff preview, and that's why we gave you some bonus YouTube exclusive content yesterday. We want to push people towards our YouTube channel. Although if you listen, it doesn't affect how you support the show, well, unless you want to do both, which would definitely help. But we did want to make that a little Sunday exclusive. We went half an hour, so imagine how long this show would have been. We broke down everything from injuries sustained, why Boucher will not be joining Belleville, Jake Sanderson's update, and some comments about the financial security of the Senators going forward and their plans to spend. Now, TSN 1200 did them so dirty yesterday, did Pierre Dorion dirty. And what I didn't like most about it was they were tweeting out paraphrased quotes without context. And this station is the official provider or official radio station of the Ottawa Senators, and they weren't airing the press conference. So people had nowhere else to go on this unless you were on Sportsnet or TSN Direct. And the team still hasn't tweeted out the video. They always post the video. I don't know if Titicombe left. They don't have anybody to upload an MP4. But I found that super strange. And Pierre Dorion is about to go on TSN 1200. We'll probably be able to touch on that at the end of today's show. If not, you can follow us on Twitter at Sens Central for our thoughts, and we'll get into it tomorrow. But Pilsey, like, didn't you find it a little strange? They sewered him.
Yeah, Ross, I was so confused because, like I mentioned in our YouTube thing, I didn't know it was happening, and I didn't follow along on Twitter. I just hopped on and watched it right away, and then I gave my reaction. And then I was kind of saying, yeah, like, Pierre Dorion maybe doesn't say things the right way, blah, blah, blah. But I thought it was mostly a positive press conference. And I log on to twitter.com, and Sens fans are absolutely losing their mind, being like, wow, Pierre Dorion, so terrible, all this kind of stuff. And I was just very confused. But if you go back and you look at the quotes just posted out of context, yeah, it does look pretty bad. And I think that's why I was saying, like, people need to understand when Pierre Dorion says we can't spend to the cap until we sell out 41 home games. Well, they don't have the money to spend to the cap. Like, this team has been ravaged by the COVID seasons, lost so much revenue. And I don't think he was saying, like, you fans are the reason we can't do this because you're not buying enough tickets, so we can't give Tim Stützle a proper extension here. I don't think that's where he was saying. I think it was more tongue-in-cheek towards, like, I don't want to say the government, but just the fact that they weren't able to even have the opportunity to sell out those games. I think that's where he was nodding his head to, Ross, is the fact that we weren't able to sell these tickets. Not that fans are selfish and are not supporting the team, which I think is what got spun out of control here.
Well, I'm pulling up on Twitter the exact quote that really took on a life of its own on Twitter. You can see 242 retweets, a lot of those quote tweets with people spewing venom towards Pierre Dorion. 223 replies. Like, this is all the other ones had like 70 and all that. So what if you're just listening, we won't be spending to the top of the cap unless we sell out all 41 home games. Like, I understand how fans would take that as a shot, but let's actually do the real quote. This is a direct quote from Pierre Dorion. It's no secret where we've spent the last 4 years. You can figure it out for yourself where we spent, but that was part of the rebuild. I think as we move forward, we're going to start spending more money. Are we going to be a team that spends $81.5 million next year? No, unless you can guarantee me that we'll sell out all 41 games. To me, it's just kind of like a throw-in conversational line at the end of the sentence. I think what you should take out of that quote is they're going to spend more. And not only is it spending more, it's spending smarter.
Yes.
Like, they had $20 million wrapped up this year in Murray, Zaitsev, and Tierney. Imagine that $20 million was put towards good players. This team would be a little bit better. I'm not saying playoff ready, but they would certainly be a bit better than they were this year.
Yeah, and that's fair. And that's the thing. Like, you have to appreciate the fact that, sure, the Sens would love to just spend money and go nuts. Like, if Pierre Dorion had that green light, he would go for it. But you got to respect the situation that they're in and the fact that they're rebuilding. Like, who cares if you buy the top free agent and overpay him if it's not going to help your team? Like, who cares if you give Matt Murray a massive contract if it's not a good contract? Like, don't spend the money badly. We don't want you to spend bad money. You got to spend the money smartly. So, yeah. And it's a cap scenario, right? So, I think I would implore all Sens fans who followed along on Twitter to watch the presser themselves, if and when it ever comes out. And if not, hey, head to Locked On Senators YouTube and you can watch 34 minutes of our reaction.
Absolutely. So we'll leave it at that for now. Again, if you want him another half hour, Pilsey told you exactly where to do it. I'm absolutely loving all the memes coming out about Brady Tkachuk last night, and it's just such a fun group to cheer for, and I'm excited about what this means going forward. But before any off-season tasks are complete, Pilsey, we got the first round of the playoffs. We're going to preview the games tonight, discuss our Sens abroad. We'll introduce you to our Sens abroad, and then Ridley Greig's season is over. Could he be joining Belleville for the playoffs? All that coming up. But Pilsey, first, you got a word from one of our favorite sponsors.
Yeah, Ross, it's playoff time, so all these guys need to know they're going to have to give way more effort. It's going to use way more energy. They need way more strength. So what I would recommend is, if you're on the road, bring some Built Bars with you, boys. That's the way to get your protein in. It's the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. They have so many different amazing flavors to choose from. And what's the best part about Built Bars? They're healthy and delicious. That's the 1-2 punch you want to hear from a protein bar. With Built Bar, you can have both. It's that easy. You can go to Built.com and order now. All Built Bars and Puffs are covered in 100% real chocolate. So you chocolate lovers, this is the protein bar for you. If that's not enough flavor for you, try out the Mix Box, because all their flavors are delicious, and I am sure you're going to find something you love in the Mix Box. Go to Built.com to get all your favorites: banana cream pie, raspberry, double chocolate, and so many more. They're all delicious, and new flavors are coming out all the time. That's one thing I'll definitely give props to Built Bar is they come out with seasonal flavors like Christmas ones, Halloween ones, Easter, all that kind of stuff. So keep your eyes on Built.com. And if you want to get yourself a sweet promo code, we got you covered. Locked15 is the promo code you'll use, and you're going to get 15% off your next order, guys. Use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com. It's Built Bar, the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar.
And if you want to advertise with Locked On Senators, you can shoot us a message on Twitter at Sens Central, on Instagram, lockedon.senators, or on our YouTube channel that is nearing 2,000 subscribers. We're looking forward to continue that growth. And if you want to reach a very local, very passionate audience, you'll want to support Locked On Senators. All right, Pilsey, I've got a quick one here for you. So this is Monday, right? And that's Friday.
Definite Monday work vibes, Friday fun vibes. Yeah.
Oh my God. I can't believe if you're listening to this and you haven't seen the video, it's all time. It really, really is. We're getting some great reaction. Before we move on to playoffs, on Twitter, I put out, how would you eulogize the 2021-22 Ottawa Senators? And because I've now learned how to share my screen on here, I'll just pull it up quickly. Pills, you can see that now?
Oh yeah, we're live.
All right, great. So scrolling down here, some good answers, and I want just some quick reactions. Caleb, who we got to meet when we were in Ottawa, really great to meet Caleb. Condensed with a shit ton of injuries to guys I wanted to watch. That's pretty fair, no?
Yeah, definitely fair.
How about unimpressive but unforgettable?
Yep, I'm down with that.
All right. Right here, one more year of experience for the players. Our owner passed away. The future's uncertain, but hopeful. Yeah. And how about what Derek had to say here? Got away from them early, but individual players got better. The dead weight continues to hurt them. So in a sense, what we said last week, Pilsey, which was this team has so much potential for addition by subtraction. And Pierre Dorion will have to figure that out here coming up soon. All right, Pilsey. It's the NHL playoffs, and without further ado, our final lineup card of the season. Pilsey, would you like to introduce us to this year's 2022 hashtag Sens Abroad?
Ross, this Sens Abroad is nowhere near what the last couple of years Sens Abroad lineups have been.
Well, think about the players who are on the outside looking in. You could make a great lineup with just them. Carlson, Stone, Pajot, Hoffman, all guys who are on the outside looking in, Robin Leonard as well.
Yeah, Vegas missing really damaged our Sens Abroad here. But nonetheless, here we go. So, top line, Nick Paul, Matt Duchene, and future Ottawa Senator Claude Giroux. We're certain that that's going to happen, so let's get it done.
Also, we're cheering for him to win the Cup because I think that severely improves his chances of coming to the nation's capital. So, I was also looking for a forward. As you can see, one of the extras is Stefan Nason, who I believe played 3 games this year in the NHL.
Hey, led the AHL in scoring, though, not a big deal.
Did he?
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. And Kyle Turris has played 1 game since January, so I had to leave him on the outside looking in as well.
Yeah, we have to make some tough choices here, Ross.
Tough choices. Crazy. Like Derek Brassard came in and pretty much took his job, although he might be the 13th forward looking in Edmonton. But I digress. Let's get you on with the second line. Still some depth, though, up front.
Yep. Nemestikov, Zibanejad, Duclair. That's actually not bad. Not bad. Then we got Foligno, Brassard, Spezza, who looks like Spezza is going to be a healthy scratch for game 1. That's maybe Babcock sitting there saying he needs more time working on the penalty kill, eh?
Well, Sheldon Keefe said some things. We're going to get into that after we do our Sens Abroad here.
Oh boy, Logan Brown, he's making his playoff debut. That'll be interesting because for a guy that can't spell intensity in the regular season, we'll see how he does in the playoffs with my guy, Derek Stepan, and Curtis Lazar. So that's a nice little fourth line there. And on defense, this is tough. Mike Riley with Cody Ceci, Boro with Goodbranson, Ben Harper somehow makes this lineup, and Josh Brown. And then in goal, a guy that might not see a single second of ice time, Ross, is Brian Elliott. And that is your 2022 Sens Abroad lineup. Get excited.
Hey, I mean, you got a 40-goal scorer up front with Matt Duchene. I mean, there's some talent here, but there's certainly not the depth that we had in years past. Of course, this is an homage to when we started growing the show, when the Senators didn't play, and there were so many more teams in the bubble. I think there were 24 teams. We had a full, sick lineup of Ottawa Senators abroad. But I'm just pulling it up, Pilsey, right now. And yeah, so Curtis McElhinney, 2-time Stanley Cup champion, who was in the Brian Elliott role, also Sens Abroad.
Yes,
he had a very short stint. 2 Stanley Cups, played 0 minutes the last two playoffs. Vasilevsky
so insane.
He's that good. And let's start with that series, Pilsey. The Toronto Maple Leafs hosting game 1 against the back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. A little inebriated, I said in the postcast on Friday, that the last team to defeat the defending champion, Tampa Bay Lightning, was none other than the Ottawa Senators in 2006. Yes, there was a full-year lockout in between, but...
Yeah, that was an interesting stat, Ross.
I mean, 4 teams had the chance to do it.
Yeah.
But they went back-to-back. So now the Toronto Maple Leafs are up. You can see I've got my Tampa Bay Lightning jersey in the background. We are heavy on the bandwagon. We are heavy on them being underdogs in this series, plus 105. Get it while you still can. BetOnline.net. Pilsey, this is going to be electric offensively. Before I get your take on the series, just to finish up what I mentioned there with Sheldon Keefe, he says it's going to be borderline violent. Does that not sound like they are playing right into the hands of the Tampa Bay Lightning? They've already lost the series before it starts.
Yeah. This is, if you're a Leafs hater, which we are, other than Boston, this is such a good scenario because Tampa has the Leafs exactly where they want them. Leafs were favorites. Austin Matthews got 60-plus goals. Everyone's back healthy now. We just had the best season in franchise history. There's no way we could lose, right? Oh my God, they're going to lose so hard. It's going to be great. Especially Tampa's just like, you guys have your fun in the regular season. We've been kind of dormant, and we're going to flip the switch now. Where Toronto, like Austin Matthews, exhausted all his energy trying to find the weirdest outfits he can wear, and Mitch Marner is... Well, I'm not even going to get started into what Mitch Marner is in the regular season. How many goals does he have in the last 12 playoff games, Ross?
No, he's on a 17-game playoff drought.
0 goals. So, not too worried about Mitch Marner in the playoffs. Let's just say that. And the Tampa Bay Lightning, like, this is a team, this is a franchise that just understands how to get it done.
18-game goal drought for Mitch Marner in the playoffs.
Yeah, brutal goal drought. And no experience in round 2, whereas Tampa, they know exactly what they need to do to get the job done. And Vasilevsky is such a factor here because if you put these lineups together, you can see a scenario where the Leafs have the firepower to get this done. But Vasilevsky versus Jack Campbell in goal, it's not even close.
Dude, they thought that they had a tough time with Carey Price last year.
Yeah.
Who wants to tell them that Vasilevsky is way better than Carey Price?
Especially in the playoffs and especially in clutch moments. Ross, what's that? There's an eliminating stat.
4 straight series clinching games, he has a shutout, including 2 Stanley Cup finals. That's ridiculous.
The Leafs don't know what to do with themselves in a series
elimination games. Yeah, don't go to elimination games record for the Leafs because they're up 3-1, so that's 0-3 just last year in elimination games.
And that was against Montreal. Like, sure, people could say, "Oh, Montreal went to the finals," but
first team to finish 32nd place in NHL history.
Yeah. Life comes at you pretty fast.
Oh, yeah. Life does come at you fast when you expect your team to be good, but then they end up having a historically bad season.
Anyways, we're getting away from it here. We're getting away from it here.
Well, I mean, the Leafs and Habs are similar in that neither has any vibes.
Yeah, it's 0 vibes. And Ross, I'm not a guy that does a lot of hate watching. You guys know me. I'm a positive guy. I don't kick people when they're down, or I try not to. I try to bring both sides to the argument here. I'm going to hate watch the shit out of this series.
Oh, yeah. Starting tonight.
I am so excited to hate watch this series. Like, I think watching Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews look depleted when Tampa Bay beats them in 6 games is going to be such a joy. Like, just the heads down, like, how did we do this again? Austin Matthews being like, I got to call Bieber. We got to work on a new fashion outline here. Hockey's not working out for me. I can't wait to be an Arizona Coyote. That's just going to be an all-time high for me. And Leafs fans can say what they want. Yeah, Sens fans, you're on the outside looking in, watching the playoffs, so who cares? But this is all-time entertainment for me, and I'm going to love hate watching this.
What is best case scenario for you?
I mean, best case scenario, Ross, you talk, like, when you're talking best case scenarios, it means you think worst case scenarios might happen. I don't have a goddamn doubt in my mind that the best case scenario, which is the Leafs losing, Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews getting humiliated once again in round 1, is going to happen. So the best case scenario is gonna happen. And maybe I'm just too fired up here, and maybe I'm going to regret saying this, but I feel pretty confident that the Toronto Maple Leafs, even though they're the favorites, are going to lose this series. Like, if we're looking at betonline.net series odds here, Ross, it's actually better than plus 105 at betonline.net. That's why I checked them out. Tampa is plus 110, and the Leafs are minus 130. So if you guys are looking to make a quick buck, That's where I'd head.
Nice. I'm trying to find the photo of Nick Paul with the sunglasses and helmet on. I can't find it too quickly, but hey, for me, best case scenario is Nick Paul just snaps and just goes off this series. Because then I feel like it's a sensing by association.
Yes.
All right, what's your official prediction? How many games?
Tampa in 6.
Tampa in 6?
And you know what, Ross? I'm not even like the Leafs might and probably will win the first 2 games, and Leafs fans are going to go crazy. Oh, yeah. That's exactly what I want. Exactly. Like, hell, give them a 3-0 lead. Do it. I'm not worried. Not worried.
Still too funny. You mentioned 3-0. The Raptors win 2 in a row, make it 3-2. Then the Leafs all show up to support them, and they get absolutely dummied. In the second half, too. They were doing well, and then they just collapsed like Toronto sports is known to do. All right, I got Tampa in 6 games as well. On the other side, we're going to preview the rest of the games tonight, and we'll take a peek at some Sens prospect news. Pilsey, save my voice for me once more here. I know you got a word from our friends at BetOnline.
Yeah, I'm glad we just did that series, because I had a lot of things I had to get out of the way there. And I might regret some of them, but whatever. It's Monday. It's the start of the playoffs. I'm feeling good. Let's go. And if you're feeling good and you like those Tampa odds, check it out at betonline.net. It's where the game starts. Playoffs are here, guys. You don't want to miss out. And betonline.net is the spot to get all your odds, your props, your info, your news, your scores, updates, whatever you want to give you the inside edge on your sports gambling. BetOnline.net is the place to check it out. They've got NBA playoffs too. Hey, baseball's going. If you want to check out, follow along with Ross's Blue Jays bet, we'll see how that's been going along so far. Great. Doesn't look like it's going too great, but the key is Ross got off the sidelines, and he is now into the action with the #1 online sportsbook for the Locked On Podcast Network, and that's betonline.net. And we're going to have a Pilsey's playoff parlay. It's coming back. I'm feeling good. So check it out and get in on the action. betonline.net, where the game starts.
All right, Pilsey, it is a playoff game day in the National Hockey League. The Belleville Senators, by the way, start their playoffs on Wednesday. We'll have plenty of time to get into that tomorrow and Wednesday, but it's the first day of the postseason. We already touched on the Lightning, who will visit Toronto tonight, 7:30 Eastern time start. The game that gets underway before that is the Boston Bruins with 3 Sens abroad, Nick Foligno, Mike Riley, and Josh Brown.
Hey, Curtis Lazar, 4 Sens abroad. Come on 4? Now.
And their head coach, Butch Cassidy, an Ottawa boy. So I don't know. That seems like the play here, although can't really cheer for Boston. That to say, they are in Carolina tonight. What do you think of that series?
I got Boston winning this one, Ross. And a big part of it is, it's funny, like the Leafs connection here. Freddie Anderson versus the Bruins is not very good. However, Freddie Anderson might not even be playing. So that's going to make things very tough for this Carolina Hurricanes team, especially because Antti Ranta is a great backup goalie, but he has a hard time being a consistent starter. And I feel like every team that's tried it, the New York Rangers, the Arizona Coyotes, where was he after that?
The Rangers.
Yeah, Rangers, Coyotes.
Nice.
There's another team, but anyways, teams that have trusted him to step up when their starter goes down, it hasn't worked out. They're saying his numbers are so good as a backup.
Chicago is where he
Chicago, that's it. Thank you very much. So they just haven't been able to get him consistently going, and Carolina is now depending on him massively here. And I think Boston is going to be able to. It's very similar to the Lightning Leafs series, because Boston, this is a team that's been there, done that. Their core knows how to get it done. They've reloaded. They've got pieces in all the right spots. Whereas Carolina is trying to prove everyone that they can get it done, but I don't think they're going to be able to ramp it up in the playoffs enough to beat Boston. So I got Boston having the edge here. And the betonline.net series prices for this, Ross, are Boston Bruins are also the underdog. So wow.
No, that makes sense.
Very interesting.
I've got Carolina in 7, and that injury in goal could be the difference maker. But they have so much firepower up front.
But Ross, here are the odds. It is close. Boston Bruins +105, Carolina Hurricanes -125.
Yeah, I mean, look at that. You're kind of splitting hairs there. It's kind of just a pick 'em, really. I just think that, man, like you look at the top end guys that they have. They've got 3 players with 65 or more points, and then you look at what they've got in the back end too, and we know that things tighten up defensively. You got Slavin, Pesci, even Ian Cole had a great bounce back year. Quasi sends abroad, if you want to really get into that. But that goaltending that you mentioned is certainly a problem. Now, Pyotr Kochkov, he was actually the second goalie, first in the second round, right before or right after. I think there was a run of goalies. Remember, Mad Sogard was telling us they got drafted right beside each other. He's played 2 games or 3 now in the NHL. He's won all 3 of them. So I think that he could be a surprise guy if Antti Raanta gets bit by the old injury bug again, because it has happened often in his career. But I'm kind of with the BetOnline odds. I think this is just kind of a throw the chip up and see if it's heads or tails, really, because they are both very solid teams. And I know Boston ended the season on a huge heater, and they're going to want to do it. Like Patrice Bergeron, kind of uncertain about his future going into UFA, and a lot of discussion about what's going to happen. He's the obvious leader of this team, and they're going to get things done for him. I think at least push it to a Game 7. But Carolina, you're looking at the team that finished with the second most points in the Eastern Conference. They are the number 1 seed in the Metropolitan Division. So you certainly have to respect that as well. This is going to be the series that DJ Smith wants to watch the most of. I can tell you that. Big boy hockey. The St. Louis Blues.
Wait. What's your prediction?
I told you. I got Carolina in 7.
Carolina in 7. I got Carolina Boston in 6.
Yep. I got Carolina in 7. But big boy hockey, talk about St. Louis and Minnesota. I heard a stat the other day. I'm going to have to double check it. But these 2 teams combined in their last 42 games, 33-5, or whatever that adds up to. I think, whatever it is, 33-5. I'm going to double check that here. That is not a Levy law.
That doesn't add up there.
I'm not a math guy. Both teams have been on absolute heaters throughout this second half. Minnesota's record, this one I'm sure I can pull up a little bit quicker, but Minnesota, since they got Marc-Andre Fleury at the trade deadline, they don't lose games. Now they're winning a lot they're winning a lot in overtime as well. They're 19-2-3 in their last 24 games.
Yeah, that's impressive. And I think like Fleury's been good, but I don't think he's been like lights out for them. I think it's just been added confidence.
They're a great team. I mean, yeah, 9-10 save percentage. He hasn't had to be great, but he's only played 11 of those games. They're still rolling with Talbot as well, who's been solid. But this is just a team where as a group, they're unbelievable defensively. They've got Jonas Brodin as kind of that key cog who's, you kind of hope that Jake Sanderson could be a Jonas Brodin type where he's just so solid in his own zone, makes simple plays. He's the Western Conference's version of Jacob Slavin. You just might not hear him as much, but amazing stick positioning, doesn't allow any offensive rushes to get by him. And what I love about Minnesota and why I'm picking them in this series is they've got the true game breaker. The best player in the series, no disrespect to Jordan Kyrou, Ryan O'Reilly, Vladimir Tarasenko, all great players. Kirill Kaprizov's the best player in this series, hands down.
Yeah, definitely. It's hard to argue that. And I would say this is the ultimate round 1 matchup. Like if you're a fan of the Blues or the Wild, you're sitting there being like, damn, the NHL did us dirty. Like we should have been playing this opponent in the second round, not the first round. But if you got no skin in the game like us, you're excited about it because it's going to be one hell of a series. Ross, I'm going the opposite way of you again here. I got St. Louis winning this one in 7. It's gonna go right down to the wire. I'm certain it'll go to 7 games. But once again, I'm gonna lean on that experience. Like the Minnesota Wild, how many of those guys have been past the second round of the playoffs? I'm gonna say, other than Fleury,
Zuccarello's been to a conference final with the Rangers.
Okay, so 1. And that was
I don't have their lineup.
So and like it's round 1, so the experience, maybe I'm putting too much onto that, but I just feel like this St. Louis Blues group is so tight knit. They have depth all around. Sure, they don't have that game breaker like Kaprizov, but the issue is when you have a game breaker like that, and ask the Toronto Maple Leafs about this, if they're not scoring, then you're floundering. Then the depth guys are like, well, we're so used to having that goal support from Matthews, from Kaprizov. Whereas the St. Louis Blues, they don't need to rely on one guy like that. Buchnevich has came in and been an absolute revelation there. They've got Braden Shen down on the third line. Ryan O'Reilly is one of the best two-way forwards, two-way centers in the game. They're a disciplined team. They're well coached. I like their decor. The big thing for me for St. Louis is, can Ville Husso bring this together? Because I don't think Jordan Binnington is their guy right now, even though he's the kind of guy where in playoffs he's kind of a head case, so maybe he flips the switch on and he can get it going here. But I like the Blues' chances here, and for people that are all heavy on the Wild, don't count out the Blues just yet.
Man, I'm still trying to do the math here. Both teams have been unbelievable. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
I mentioned, so Minnesota 16-2-3, or sorry, you can even go back further. I said 19-2-3 in their last 24 games. St. Louis in their last 18 games, 14-2-2. So this is kind of unfair for whatever fan base is on the losing end of it. And this, to me, is one of those series as well. Although I do have Minnesota in my bracket going a little bit further. I got them going to the conference final. I'm hopping on the bandwagon. I got them beating Colorado. That's a bit of a tough one there. But this could be a situation where they just beat the crap out of each other enough that the other one runs out of gas the next series, because this is going to be big boy hockey all the way through. The grinders on both teams, like, watch for Jordan Greenway, Marcus Foligno, Nick Deslauriers. Yeah, these guys are going to come out swinging. But then, I mean, when you're coached by Craig Berube, you're not going to come and just let that come at you. Watch for guys like on the back end there. Parayko better have a big series as well. Braden Shen, Ivan Barbashev, who plays bigger than his frame as well. This is just going to be a fantastic hockey series, and I'm really looking forward to it. You said you've got St. Louis in 6?
7. This game's going to 7 games. You flip a coin wherever you want at that.
I got Minnesota in 7 games tonight, or not tonight, but I've got them in 7 games. Game 1 tonight at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. All right, Pilsey, one more game tonight, and then we'll preview tomorrow's games tomorrow. But 10 o'clock, the LA Kings are visiting the Edmonton Oilers. Handicap this series for us.
Yeah, so sorry, I didn't give out the odds for that last series. St. Louis Blues plus 135, Minnesota Wild minus 155. That's kind of where I expected things to be odds-wise. Now we're heading over to the Edmonton Oilers and the LA Kings, and the LA Kings are plus 195. The Edmonton Oilers are minus 225. Again, that's probably where you expect things to be at. And I hate to say this, but the LA Kings are a team where it's just, we're happy to be here. Now, people are probably immediately, the second I finish saying that, are going to say, remember when LA was the 8th seed way back when they won the cup? Yeah, but this is a little different here. And if they had Drew Doughty, I would be a little more convinced. But without Doughty, that decor is not very great. And basically, the way I see this going is they're going to do their best to stifle and to hold off the Edmonton Oilers offense. But eventually the dam's going to burst. Like, I think the first 3 games, we're going to see good hockey, and it's going to be close. And you might think Edmonton, maybe they're not going to get it done. But then come game 4, 5, 6, if necessary, 7, the Oilers are going to have them just absolutely drained. And fortunately for LA, they've got some shutdown centermen in Kopitar and Philip Deneau. And if anyone's going to shut down a punch of McDavid and Draisaitl defensively up the middle, it's those 2 guys. But I just don't think they can get it done in the 7-game series unless Jonathan Quick plays out of his mind, which he's been known to do. But the pressure on the Edmonton Oilers here is immense. Like, if they don't get this done, that whole city is going to implode. So I just think there's too much on the line for Edmonton here. The LA Kings, it's built of a lot of prospects that are just getting their first taste of NHL action, let alone playoff action. So I just don't think they're going to be able to not get overwhelmed by this firepower-heavy Edmonton team.
They are a team of destiny, though. Dustin Brown retiring after the postseason. He got to wear the C once again in the final regular season game, so don't count them out, especially when they've got Jonathan Quick there. And say what you want about him maybe being over his prime or through it, but that guy can win you games. Yep. Now, I probably give them the edge in goal, but up front and on defense, and maybe not right now, because Mike Smith has been playing out of his mind.
And he's a guy that flips it on playoffs too, right?
Yeah, remember with Arizona and or
Oh.
Phoenix, I guess, back in 2012? Like, he was absolutely
I mean,
absurd.
that's like 10 years ago, though. Let's put that into context.
I know, but still,
Yeah.
man, those guys, they just have that button they can press. And I don't even know how many opportunities has he had in the postseason since then. Probably a few for sure, but I don't know if it's enough where you can be like, okay, is he not a playoff guy anymore? As I pull it up, he's been in the playoffs 3 times since.
With Edmonton.
Never out of the first round. One of them, though, he played 27 minutes. I don't know if it was due to injury or what, but yeah. Even though he lost all 4 straight when Edmonton got swept last year, I believe by Winnipeg in the first round, he still had a .912 save percentage in 4 straight losses. Now, if I'm the Oilers, though, I'm looking at the new coach bump that they're still under right now. They lost twice to the Ottawa Senators, including giving up a 2-goal third period lead. That was on a season-long 8-game losing streak or 7-game losing streak in the middle of or in the start to mid part of January. Then they came to Ottawa. Tim Stützle went short side upstairs in overtime. Unbelievable goal. And then 3 games later, they fired their head coach, Dave Tippett. A little sensing, you could call it a little bit of a stretch. But Jay Woodcroft has come in, and he's 26-9-3, Pilsey. These guys are playing for him. Their top players are just that. Has anyone had a quieter 120-point season than Connor McDavid? People just expect it from him right now. Leon Draisaitl, 50 goals. Nobody even like bats an eyelash at it anymore. It's just expected. And these guys, obviously, to say the least, are going to have to carry the team. Now, Vander Kane, bad guy. What do you call him? Brickhead for sure. But man, he's fit in well with McDavid. He's scoring goals left, right, and center. Huge addition on ice for them. And then you look, they're getting Darnell Nurse back. And some people hate him, but he's a guy postseason. And by some people, I mean the analytics guys think that he's the worst. Come playoffs, that's a guy I don't want to be going into the corners with. You need players like that to go far. They also have Cody Ceci, sure, who's actually, by accounts out of Edmonton, played pretty well. I've got them winning this series in 6 games.
I got them winning in 5 just because I just think it's going to be so tough for LA to keep up here. And the thing that's different about the Oilers this year and under their new coach is they're not just Toronto Maple Leaf style run and gun. Let's try to outscore our problems. They're getting guys to buy in defensively here. And when you have guys that you just mentioned it, quietly put up 120 points, quietly put up 50 goals. Now, if you can just defend a little more, like just give it a little bit more of an effort, you're going to see some major results here. And then getting Darnell Nurse back, I just think it's going to be too much. And, you know, maybe LA can prove me wrong. Maybe guys like Byfield, Kaliev, they're going to get hot, but it's not going to be enough.
Don't forget Danault. I mean, he's shut down Matthews pretty good in that first round last year, and he's going to have a tougher test going up against Connor McDavid head-to-head. But this is a series I'm going to be locked into. I'm excited for this. Which one, as we wrap up this conversation, because we do want to touch on a bit of Sens prospect talk. Again, imagine if we did the whole Pierre Dorion reaction today. It would be wild. Hope you're enjoying Locked On Senators, though. Show one of many this offseason. We are staying 5 days a week. We'll have plenty of time to go through each Ottawa Senators player, analyze their season, discuss what's going to happen going forward. We're going to start that probably in the second round, but right now, we're hockey fans first and foremost. We'll
round
give
one's
you
the best
playoff content with a Sens angle. We're obviously going to follow our Sens abroad throughout it. So thanks for sticking with us through the offseason. The growth throughout this season has been incredible. April, stop me if you've heard this before, but April, again, the biggest month in show history. We want to keep that rolling here as we go on. But out of the 4 games tonight, Pilsey, which one is must-watch TV? Which one will you not be flipping the channel on once?
Well, I'm going to hate watch the Leafs Tampa, and being Eastern time, that one right in my wheelhouse. And then once the Lightning are up...
Pilsey's on the Jake Sanderson sleep schedule, by the way.
Yeah, I am a guy that goes to bed early. I will admit that. Nothing wrong with a little beauty sleep. But I'm going to be watching Leafs Lightning first, and then I'm flipping over to St. Louis Blues and the Wild. Like, I don't have a whole lot of interest in the Kings Oilers one.
You'll catch McDavid on the highlights the next morning.
Exactly. Bruins Hurricanes. Once it gets closer to the end, I'll tune in here. But
yeah, that's my least.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of interest in that one. But yeah,
which is ironic because there's 4 Sens abroad on Bob.
Honestly, yeah, for us to be covering it from a Sens angle, that's the one we should be focused on. But yeah, Leafs Lightning. It's going to be so interesting to see how this starts, and then like Wild Blues, I would watch those games just regular season wise. Like that's a game, if the Sens aren't playing, I would just flip it on to watch in the regular season because that's good hockey. Those are teams you want to see make it to the playoffs and you want to see play each other. So I'm fired up about that series.
Yeah, 100%. We're looking forward to all of it coming up. For me, of course, I'm going to hate watch Lightning and Toronto. It's going to be a highly skilled series, and those teams hate each other. If you saw that 8-1 beatdown that Tampa put on Toronto, one individual matchup in that series to watch is Pat Maroon and Wayne Simmons. Those two guys absolutely hate each other, and no, neither of them are soft. That got a lot of play from guest of this show, Leah Hextall, on the ESPN call. But I'm just so fired up. It was a very long regular season for the Senators and the NHL. And playoff hockey, you just get that breath of fresh air. It's like getting the CO2 tank or some smelling salts, and you're just absolutely locked in and ready to go. All right, quickly before we go, Zach Ostapchuk, who is third in the WHL in scoring in the playoffs so far, their 8th seed has a chance to upset the number 1 seed tonight. That would be huge in itself. We'll tell you what happens there tomorrow. But Pilsey, the real story is Ridley Greig scores his first, scores his second of the postseason, and then the Brandon Wheat Kings were eliminated in triple overtime. What do you think is next for Ridley Greig? Could he be in the lineup for game 1 for Belleville?
I think he definitely could. Will he? That will remain to be seen. I think Troy Mann might want to kind of get a look at him, see where he's at. I think maybe you get him into game 2 or 3. I wouldn't be so sure he's getting into game 1, though. Especially
because game 1 is in Rochester. So for me, I bring him to Belleville. I say, okay, start training here. You know the facilities. He spent some time there before being reassigned last year, before the WHL season started up. Has already scored his first AHL goal.
Yep.
No, it's just an NHL. I was wondering if he was suspended for the first game, but
no,
that's only in the NHL. But it's one of those like fine lines because you don't want to disrupt the group that's gotten you there. But he's a first-round talent. You need to get him into games, and he's a type of player where he could play a fourth-line role on an AHL team. So definitely. I'm excited. And they got to match Buffalo because Buffalo sent down Peyton Krebs and Matthias Samuelsson. Now, I was talking to Footy, and we're like, I really hope Owen Power doesn't get sent down. Now, it seems like Owen Power will be joining Team Canada at the World Championships, although unconfirmed, but he's not being sent down. Imagine we had Power versus Anderson. Like, it sucks the hockey gods robbed us of that. That could have been an all-time play-in series in the AHL, but it looks like no Owen Power, which is a very, very big sigh of relief if you're cheering for the Belleville Sens.
Definitely, because as much as we wanted kind of the Belleville versus Rochester, the Arundel hate tour to go on, this is a tough matchup. Like Rochester is a team that matches up nicely against the Sens. They've beat down on Belleville during the regular season, and I'm a little nervous. But this is a team that can get it done. I wish it was a full series because 3-game series that can be done so quickly.
Even the next one is a best of 5.
Yeah, AHL playoffs are.
Strange.
They're different, that's for sure. And before we move on past the prospects completely, Ross, it was a wild game for Kingston as well.
I'm glad you brought that up. They're moving on, aren't they?
Yeah, Shane Wright got the OT winner. And
who assisted it?
Ben Roger got the assist, so clutch there. And Leevi Merilainen, he keeps his team in it, and they are moving on to the next round.
They were up 4-1 in the third period.
Yeah, but they... Who are they playing? I'm blanking. Oshawa.
Yeah.
Oshawa scored with seconds left. Like it was a wild game. So I'm not putting that one on Leevi. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they do carrying forward here. And it's nice to see Sens prospects move along.
All right. And it's nice to see Bobby Ryan, as I refresh Twitter, calling Tampa in 6. So nobody is expecting the blue and white to move on. If you're just keeping track now, it's been 18 years since they've won a series, and it's been 18 playoff games since Mitch Marner has scored a goal. Pilsey, anything we missed? We're getting many more replies to that tweet with the eulogy. Oh, I do have one more thing, but we are getting a lot more replies. Like the November 1 win is just kind of the overwhelming memory of this season. You win one game in November, the rest of the season just kind of goes out the window, just like that.
Yeah, it's pretty bad when your playoff hopes are are gone before Christmas. Like you can't wish for a playoff run as your Christmas wish. Like that, there was no opportunity there. So moving on though, I do have a Pilsey's parlay of the day, and you can go
tease that. We're gonna pull up this first, Pilsey, and I want to get your take here. As on Twitter, we ask, which hashtag Sens abroad are you most cheering for to win the Stanley Cup? Is it Nick Paul, Mark Borowiecki, or other? Where is your vote?
I did Nick Paul just because I think he's a guy that deserves to have success. He had to make a tough decision to move on from Ottawa, and we're cheering for the Lightning here. So I went with Nick Paul.
Well, yeah, where is it? Yeah, if Nick Paul makes it to round 2, I'll be happy. Shout out at Leems Martian there. It matters more than anything else in this playoff as well. That's great. But a lot of people as well saying Anthony Duclair, and I can see why. He was a great soldier for the Ottawa Senators. Bet on himself, and oh boy, is it paying off. But many putting the asterisks there as well, that if Duclair wins, Giroux wins. And yes, we know that leads to, what, a 30% chance, maybe, that the Senators could get him. All right, Pilsey, your parlay of the day. I know everyone's fired up for this.
Yep, it's we're bringing it back. Pilsey's playoff parlay of the day. Head to betonline.ag to make your parlay to follow along with me. The first one's so obvious, Ross. Tampa Bay Lightning are plus 108 tonight. Ooh. Let's hop on that. And then you guys know I like the Bruins, and they're plus 102. So I'm putting those two money lines together, Tampa and Boston. That put $5 in. You're going to win $16.01. So that is Pilsey's playoff parlay of the day.
We will touch on that tomorrow and see whether Pilsey is starting off on the right foot. We'll have more playoffs to break down. And of course, Pierre Dorion is literally about to go on 1200 right now. We will not paraphrase it, but we will expand on his thoughts on tomorrow's show. In the meantime, you can follow us on Twitter at BrandonPiller1, at Ross Levitan. The show is at Sens Central. You can also follow us on Instagram, lockedon.senators. And please subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're working our way to 2,000. For today, we say goodbye. Thank you for watching the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.